welcome to Just Right. Today's challenge is writing alternative endings for a story. The setting is Nottingham and its castle. The first part of the story and the two story endings will be posted on the internet on the Kids Castle site for young writers. Now, our two writers are Holly and Theo. You willing to have a go?
Yeah, we'd love it. But we might need a bit of help.
OK, of course. Now, I'm going to introduce you to Lynn Markham. She lives in Nottingham and has written loads of children's stories and novels. Lynn, will you help Holly and Theo?
Yeah, I'd love to. Everybody likes telling stories.
Brilliant. Off we go. Before you can start to write, you need ideas, a bit of inspiration. But this can come from anything, anywhere. Lynn got the idea for her book, The Closing March, when she happened to be out one day for a walk.
What exactly is it about this place that made you want to write about it?
Well, at the moment, it looks like a heap of rusty old metal, and I think that's how most people would see it. But it occurred to me that at one time this place was absolutely full of life. It was teeming with people, and all of it's disappeared now.
What characters did you write about?
I decided I wanted to write about a local family who had all had connections with the pit. There was the granddad, who had lived down the pit for most of his life. There was the father, there was the mother, but the most important character was a young boy called Mick, who got flashbacks of what the pit was like in the old days, and he sees the pit as it was. He feels the darkness, he feels the fear that his granddad felt going down into that big, deep pit. Mick looked out of the window. The pit was a huge, black, bottomless hole that swallowed the local villagers up. It was the best and the worst of all that he knew. And now the pit was closing down. Mick could not even begin to feel sorry. He might have been processed into the pit, and that would have been the way his life went. But now, a whole new world would open up. Now, he could be whatever he liked.
Wow, a story about a boy who has flashbacks of his granddad's life down the pit. Just think about all the different directions that story could go off in. Will he unearth the truth behind a mysterious mining disaster? Will he travel through time? Will this boy's strange talent prove helpful or dangerous? You could read Lynn's book and compare your ideas on how the story could have developed with what Lynn actually wrote. When you're looking for a story idea to develop, pick one with loads of potential for your imagination. Now, what Holly and Theo have to do is write alternative endings to a story that's been started by Helen Cresswell called The Magic Ball. And here it is. Beth had no idea her ball had magical powers. She had found it in the dungeons of Nottingham Castle where she lived. She was the Sheriff of Nottingham's daughter. Every day she'd play with her ball down in the Broad Marsh, a wide open space on the edge of the castle estate. 700 years later, they'd gone and built a shopping centre on the Broad Marsh. Sam had been traipsing round the Broad Marsh shops all morning with his mum, and he was completely fed up.
I'll meet you back at the entrance of the caves in 10 minutes, okay?
He had been complaining so much that his mum decided to buy him a burger. And that's when the magic happened. Beth was feeling pretty lonely.
I wish I had someone to play with.
She threw the ball unusually high. And when it came down, Sam caught it.
Is this yours?
And Beth was transported through time to the beginning of the 21st century, which was all very confusing. They had no idea that the ball was responsible. Anyway, how was Beth to get back to her own time? All Sam could think of was the caves. Many people thought they were magical.
Are you sure I'll come out back at the castle in my own time? Should do. It's worth a try anyway. Bye. What about my ball? Oh, sorry, I forgot.
I thought that might happen. Well, they're not down there, I can tell you. But where and when they are is now for Holly and Theo to decide. And I reckon a lot depends on exactly how the magic ball actually works.
Right, we've got a really good story so far. How do you think you would like it to end?
Could be like really exciting, mixed with scary.
I find exciting or scary both hooks me onto the book, so my eyes are always glued to the book.
When it's exciting, the kids just want to know what's going to happen next, like if something will die, something might happen.
So you're talking about what I call the and then factor, are you?
What's that?
Well, and then is the thing that Holly was talking about. It's the thing that keeps you turning the pages. What else do you think we need in a story?
If we have dialogue, then it's easier to understand what the people in the story are feeling.
Yeah, dialogue gives stories a feeling of immediacy. It draws you into the story, so you're right with the characters straight away. So we've got the exciting and scary bits. We've got the dialogue. Let's turn to the characters. What sort of characters do you think we should have?
Sam should be brave and Beth should be really kind.
I don't know if I agree with that, you see, because Sam, he's not all that brave. I wouldn't say he's a hero. I'd say Beth was brave because she could end up falling out with a serious fallout with her father because she's helping Sam.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what we've got to sort out now with the ending is what's possible and what isn't. How do you think we should go from here?
Well, I think the possibilities all depend on the magic ball.
Yeah, we have to work out how this magic ball works, because time travel is really complicated.
Now, at this stage, there's a lot to keep in mind, isn't there? You've got to be clear on the characters and how they might develop a little during your story. You've got to decide where to use dialogue, and if so, what kinds of things the characters are likely to say. And you've got to dream up some action to keep your readers desperate to know what happens next. That's the and then factor. But governing all these three things is the question, what's possible, what's not? However fantastic your story, is it believable that the characters might actually say and do those things? Is it at all possible that things might turn out like that?
Right, you two, you look as if you've been really busy.
They've both decided that when Sam and Beth disappeared, they were transported back to Beth's time, and Sam was in big trouble with Beth's father, the sheriff.
Holly, what have you been up to?
Well, I've had lots of ideas, but I'd put it this way. They have to escape, and they're in the castle. And then they figured out how Sam could get back to his own time. They figured out if Sam threw the ball to himself, then he'd go back to his own time. So they run back to the field, and Sam threw the ball to himself, and he ended up back in the Broadmarsh Centre.
Well, that's brilliant, Holly. You've got a real twist there. And you've really kept the pace and the excitement going, which is very important for the and then factor. Right there, how did you get on?
Well, my story is a bit more scary than Holly's. The sheriff finds them, tells his guards to lock up Sam in the dungeons, but Beth wants to rescue him because it's his new friend. Beth tells Sam that the only way to escape is past the guard. On the way out, the guard wakes up, but I haven't quite finished it yet, so I want to make my ending different.
Well, I think what you've got so far is smashing, and I can't wait to hear what happens next.
What if two people catch the ball at the same time? Beth caught the ball.
Holly and Theo are checking their stories before emailing them to the kids' castle site. You should always revise what you've written. A computer makes that very easy to do. But remember, as you're writing your story, you must work away at keeping your readers interested. Use any trick you can think of. A joke maybe, a surprise of some sort, some feeling that your main character could be in danger. Keep us guessing what might or might not happen next. Okay. So when you write your alternative endings, draw on characters and locations that'll let you use your imagination. But then you'll have to decide which ideas are possible and which aren't. And when it comes to putting pen to paper, or fingers to keyboard, make sure your story's exciting enough to keep your readers turning, or scrolling, the page. At last, their story's published worldwide. Now, remember how the first part of the story ended. Sam threw the magic ball to Beth, and they both disappeared from the Broadmarsh Centre. So let's see how Holly continued the story.
This is my story. Beth held out her hands to catch the ball, and in a flash, the two children were transported back to the Middle Ages. As Beth heaved a sigh of relief, Sam looked around in amazement.
So you really are from another time?
I told you I was.
Beth explained that she lived in Nottingham Castle. She was the sheriff's daughter.
The sheriff. He's a real baddie, isn't he?
That's him. We better get you out of sight.
Beth knew that her father wouldn't take too kindly to Sam. As they crept nervously around the gatehouse, two giggling servants appeared as if from nowhere.
This way, quickly.
Beth and Sam dashed into the castle to look for a place where they would be safe. As bad luck would have it, they managed to pick the very room where Beth's mother was doing her sewing.
Beth, my sweet, have you been playing with your ball all this time?
Yes, Mother, and it's been really exciting.
You are a strange child. I shall see you later for dinner.
Beth called Sam back up the steps.
Sam!
They were safe for now, but they both knew that Sam would be caught eventually. He had to get back to his own time. As they discussed the problem, they had a bright idea. When Beth had thrown the ball, she travelled into the future. And when Sam had thrown it to Beth, it was he who journeyed through time. So what would happen if Sam threw the ball to himself?
Do you really think this will work?
Maybe, maybe not. Anything's worth a try.
Sam immediately disappeared as Beth waved goodbye.
Oh, God, that's cool.
That was really good, Holly. Well done. Now it's Theo's turn.
My story is a bit more scarier than Holly's. The children were back in Beth's own time, not that Sam knew when or where he was.
Where am I?
He's still in Nottingham, but in my time now.
Then they heard footsteps. There was no time for any explanations. The footsteps could only be one person, Beth's father, the evil sheriff of Nottingham.
Come on, let's go.
The children dived for cover. They stayed perfectly still, but the sheriff found them easily and looked down on them with a face like thunder.
You boy, you must be a spy for Robin Hood. God!
Sam struggled but soon realised that he was
Lock
well
him
and
up.
truly captured and was marched away to the dungeons. Although Beth was terrified of her father, she was determined to help her new friend escape. When night fell, she tiptoed downstairs, her magic ball under her arm. Passing the sleeping guard, she very carefully opened the gate and crept down the steps.
Beth, you scared the life out of me. Now how do we escape?
This way.
She explained that there was no way out through the cave. The only escape was back past the guard.
Sam! What the devil? This belongs to Miss Elizabeth.
Sam's mum was very angry with Sam and dragged him away. She said he shouldn't talk to strangers, and anyway, it was time to go home.
Bravo, you two. Now, how about writing a sequel? Wouldn't take you long, no big deal. Take you 10 minutes, no worries. OK, go on, just for me.